Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to the first part of a tutorial series of modding, how to mod Hotline Miami 1 with the source code. This is basically a continuation of Spencer Jan's tutorials that he never ended up finishing because he doesn't work with Hotline Miami anymore. If you see that this tutorial is named like 8 or 9 without me having created 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., that's because Spencer Jan has already made those tutorials. So go and watch those. They'll basically explain everything because I'm not going to be explaining anything that he's already explained. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to get Game Maker Studio 1.4.9. I'm not going to tell you how to get the source code up and running. Maybe I will if I get enough requests, but the only way to get 1.4.9, like the full version of Game Maker Studio 1.4.9, is to get it through illegal means, because they don't sell keys for it anymore. It's been discontinued. So and YouTube has been cracking down on piracy lately, and I'd really rather not get a strike on my channel. But if I get enough requests for it, maybe I can maybe I can find a workaround, I don't know, or maybe I can help some people privately. I don't know, but you should have all of this set up if you're watching this tutorial. You should have watched like pretty much all, or at least most, of Spencer Jan's tutorials if you're here watching this video. So anyways, this video is how to give enemies melee weapons, and I actually already made a video a couple days ago. Or like a week ago, on how to give enemies melee weapons, but I decided not to post it, and I decided to just re-record because the video was honestly really terrible, and I forgot like half of the scripts, and I left out a lot of shit. And when I was re-watching it back earlier today, I kind of realized like, wow, this is a terrible fucking video. So here I am now, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it, and this time it should be a lot more clean and a lot more quality and not terrible like the last one. So let's get started. I have a little notepad here. I'll go ahead and put this in the description if anyone wants it. It's kind of messy, but it's if you have terrible memory like me, it can really help. So the first script we want to start with, or actually, well, let me explain a few things. So you should know most of this already, but I'll go ahead and do a quick explanation. So obviously in SprWeapons, you have your overworld sprite for your weapon whenever it gets dropped on the ground, right? And you can pick it up in the overworld. Like, I don't know why I'm saying overworld, that's kind of redundant, but whenever your weapon is on the ground as a pickup, right? You want to make sure you add it before this toy MP5. Because if you add it up here, you're going to consequently displace everything up here, and you'll have to go and edit all of the image indexes, and that'll be really, really shitty. So make sure you add it right before this toy MP5. And then everything after this toy MP5 is the throw index. So these are all throwing weapons. I'm not going to show you how to add throwing weapons in this tutorial, but I could do that in another video. But for now, this is how to give melee weapons to enemies, so we're going to be focusing on that and nothing else. So here I've added a katana. This is the weapon that we're going to be giving to the enemy. It's image index 28. As you can see, I have went ahead and added it right here. Katana equals image index 28. I just noted it down so that I could remember. So make sure you go ahead and do that. Right. And also you're going to want, if we go into enemies, Russian Mafia, walking, you're gonna want a walking animation. So as you can see, I have one right here, Sprite E Walk Katana. This is the walking animation from when they're walking with a weapon. Sprite E Attack Katana. This is the attacking animation, and obviously yours might not be named Katana. It depends on what weapon you want to add, but again, you're gonna need an attacking and a walking animation, and you don't need a searching animation. The searching animation is essentially whenever the enemy chases down the player and they can't find the player, they sit there and play their searching animation, and then they go back to walking once they're done playing the searching animation. As you can see, I haven't added one because I feel like it's unnecessary for the katana. But if you want to add one for your weapon, don't worry, because I'll show you how to get that working anyways. But you don't have to. It's up to you. But either way, I'll show you how to get the searching animation working. So don't worry. So actually, speaking of that, the first two scripts, but the first script we're going to go into is scrSearchSprite. So go ahead and hit Control-R to bring up a research search and search for scrSearchSprite. And it'll bring up this script. So this is basically saying, if argument 0 equals sprite E walk your weapon, return sprite E search your weapon. So it's saying, it's basically just telling the game to play the search animation from the walking animation whenever the enemy goes to search for the player, essentially. And I don't have a searching animation, but if I did, it would look something like this. If argument 0 equals sprite E walk katana, return sprite E search katana. And as you can see, this didn't light up red because I don't have a search animation, but if you do, it'll light up red, and it'll all work like clockwork. But because I don't have a searching animation, I'm gonna delete this because it'll just give me an error. So yeah. Next, you want to go into scrStopSearch. This is similar to the last script. It's just telling the game that once the enemy gets done with their searching animation, once the searching animation plays out, it's telling them to return to the walking animation once they're done searching for the player. So again, it would basically look something like this if I had a searching animation. And if you have a searching animation, you'll want to go ahead and add this, but I don't. But again, it would just look something like this. If argument 0 equals sprite E search katana, return sprite E walk katana. Just like that. And then I'm going to delete this because I don't actually have one. Okay. So yeah, that's that. That's pretty simple and straightforward. There is one more place that you'll need to add the searching animation, which we're actually about to get into right now. scrCurrentWeaponExt. As you can see here. So this is a long line of player animations and enemy animations. So as you can see, sprite P is sprite player. So these are all player animations. Sprite E is sprite enemy. Specifically for enemy mafia. There's also like police and other shit. I mean, the police are pretty much the only other faction in the game in Hotline Miami 1. So yeah. But basically, you'll want to... I mean, you can add it anywhere. You could even add this in the player cluster if you wanted to, although I don't know why you would, because that would be really confusing. But as you can see, I've went ahead and added it here. So you'll go down here to these sprite enemy attack animations, and you'll add it right in here. So you'll make a new line and put, like, if argument 0 equals sprite E attack. And as you can see, I already did it, but I'll do it again just for the sake of demonstration. Sprite E attack katana return 28, but I've already done that, so there's no need to do it again. But yeah, you'll basically just go ahead and add that in the cluster here, and then go down to the walking animations and do the same thing. Right, so if argument 0 equals sprite E walk katana return 28. So make sure you do it for the attacking and the walking animation. I've already done it, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete this line. But again, don't delete your line, okay? I need to. I feel like I shouldn't have to make that clear, but I'm gonna make that very clear. Don't delete your line. I'm just deleting my line because I've already added the katana animation, so there's no reason to do it again. Do not delete your line of code. Put it in there and make sure it's returning to the correct index, and then you'll be all good. Also, I haven't really explained what this code does. Essentially, I'm not the best at explaining things, but this is just a big list of all of these weapons, and it's using argument 0, which is an argument that I believe it's defined somewhere else, but it basically determines all of the, how do I explain this without sounding, I'm like stuttering so much, I do apologize. It basically just determines all of the animations and like different enemy and player animations, and like what animation is playing right now. Like if an enemy or a player picks up a weapon or swings the weapon, it's basically just handling that, like it's just handling that animation, that sprite, and then returning to the sprite index, which is the weapon. So like here, the Thompson is sprite index 26. So they're holding that weapon, right? Like they're attacking with that weapon right here, and then it's returning to the index of that weapon in case they get killed, so that they also drop that weapon on the ground, right? And that's for both the player and the enemy. And it's not just for that. Like, again, that was probably like the worst explanation ever. I'm not the best at explaining things, but hopefully that gave you an idea. And also, you want to go ahead and add, if you have a searching animation, go ahead and add that as well. So we added the walk and the attack up here. If you have a searching animation, make sure you add that in this cluster down here. If argument 0 equals sprite e search katana, it's not going to show up red because I don't have one, but return and then the sprite index. So again, this is for searching. Make sure you add this if you have a searching animation, but if you don't, you can just ignore it. And then down here we have the throw index, and as you can see, I've already changed it, but you want to change this to the index after the toy Uzi, right? So if I bring up SprWeapons here, just as an example, we have 29, which is the toy MP5, and then we have 30, which is where the throw index starts. Like, this is the first throwing weapon. We have 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and it starts at 30. So make sure, or well, for me it does. For me, sorry, again, I need to be more clear on this. I really should make a script for these so that it's not so like all over the place, but for me it's 30. For you, it's going to be whatever, right? Like, as you can see, I've already added some weapons. So for me, the throw index is 30. But if you are just now adding your first weapon, for you, it's going to be 28. Because it'll be 26, 27 will be the toy MP5, and then 28 will be the throw index. But for me, I've added a couple. So for me, it's 30. For you, it might be something else. So just make sure you change it to whatever weapon is after the toy MP5, which is that green little MP5. That's the toy MP5. So again, that's that script. Next we go to scrGetAttack, which is basically what it sounds like. If argument 0 equals sprite e walk, sprite enemy walk your weapon, or sprite underscore index, it's using both argument 0 and sprite index here, equals walking with your weapon, return to the attacking animation. And this is just getting the attack animation. It's literally exactly what it sounds like. So just go ahead and add that. As you can see, I've already done it right here. So just go ahead and add if argument 0 equals sprite e walk katana, or sprite underscore index equals sprite e walk katana, return sprite e attack katana. And again, it might not be called katana for you. It might be called whatever your weapon is named. So just make sure you go ahead and add that into this cluster. Okay. scrGoGetWeapon. This handles, the script basically tells the game what to, or the enemy, what to do whenever they've been knocked on the ground, and they've, like, obviously whenever you punch an enemy in the face in this game, in Hotline Miami, they fall onto the ground and then they drop their weapon, and you can either pick it up and kill them, or maybe you'll like run off into the next room to do something else. So if you leave that enemy unattended, and there's no weapon, they'll get up, and then if you like run to them, they'll like back up, they'll like back away from you. But if there's a weapon on the ground and they can pick it up, they'll run to that weapon and pick it up and try to attack you. And that's basically what this script right here handles. So first things first, first thing to explain is if target.imageIndex is less than or equal to 28, and then it does the same thing down here, is greater than or equal to 28, exit. For you, this should be 7, because the maximum index is going to be 7. But obviously, once you add your weapon into the cluster, you'll want to change this. As you can see, I added a crowbar, and I also added a katana. And for you, you're gonna want to go ahead and add your weapon into this cluster, and it's gonna be objEnemyMelee, not objEnemy. objEnemy handles enemies with guns. This is specifically how to add melee enemies, so you'll want to make sure you change it to objEnemyMelee. I'll cover guns in another video, so don't worry. But yeah, just go ahead and make sure you add your line if target.image_index equals the index of your weapon. my_id equals instance_create xy. It's just getting the coordinates. objEnemyMelee. my_id.sprite_index equals sprite walk your weapon. And again, it's just telling the game to go ahead and pick up the weapon and then change the enemy's sprite index to them walking with that weapon so they can function and use the weapon as normally once they pick it up off the ground. And then once you do that, make sure you change down here, and if I can use my eyes correctly, up here, make sure you change these. These will both be 7. Make sure you change them to the new maximum, which for me is 28. For you, it might be something different. But yeah, make sure you change that to the new maximum, so it'll go from 7 to whatever. I don't mean to repeat myself so many times, I just want to make it clear. So, scrEnemyDieMelee, this is optional. You actually do not have to do this at all, if you don't want to. This script handles, well, it basically handles the enemies dying from melee attacks, pretty much. But up here, it also has if room equals room train station entrance, which is, I believe this handles whenever the enemies, once you grab the briefcase from the train station level and you go downstairs, the enemies get out of the train. This handles what weapons they can wield once they get out of the train, and there's an else statement saying that they can wield a shotgun and an M16, but that never actually happens. I don't think this else statement ever gets called, because again, that's the train station level. Enemies don't have guns in the train station level unless you specifically want them to, of course. If you like add enemies that have guns, but again, this is the train station level, so by default they won't have any guns. But if you wanted to add your weapon in here, once the enemies get out of the train, if you wanted them to be able to wield your new weapon, you can go ahead and add that. So, as you can see, I added my katana and my crowbar up here, but you really don't have to. I mean, it's just for the train station level. It's not like a huge deal. And I'm assuming if you wanted to make a mod, you're probably not going to be reusing the train station level, unless you're making like a Redux mod or something. But anyways, so yeah, that's optional. Next is objEnemyMelee. In the create event, weapons and animation end event, so we'll go ahead and bring that up. objEnemyMelee. And the create event of weapons, so go in here. This is just basically, so there's objEnemyMelee, and then after that there's objEnemyMeleeStationary. So objEnemyMelee is enemies that can walk around, pretty much. Like they have a patrol system, like a patrol code where they like walk around and patrol around the level. And then objEnemyMeleeStationary is just them staying there, like enemies that just stay where they are once you place them in the level and don't walk around at all unless they see the player. Obviously they'll chase the player, but this is just this is defining what weapons they can wield. So for objEnemyMelee, by default, it'll be club, pipe, knife, and bat. And I also added crowbar and katana. So you want to make sure you add that here. Make sure you add a comma and then sprite, SPRE, walk, your weapon. And as you can see, I've already added everything here. So I'm going to delete that. But make sure you go ahead and add the sprite walk your weapon into this cluster. And then in the animation end event, this is telling the animation to end. Sprite so once they get done with the attacking animation, return to the walking animation, and then update equals 1 because it's updating it. So it's updating the new animation. So to play. Jesus Christ. So again, make sure you add that into the cluster. If sprite_index equals scrEnemyIsAttacking your weapon, and then in squiggly brackets, sprite_index equals scrEnemyWalk your weapon, update equals 1. Make sure you go ahead and add that, and then I'm going to delete this because I've already done so. Alright, and then you're done with that. And now go to objEnemyMeleeStationary, which is essentially the exact same thing. Stationary. except we're changing, instead of changing in the create event and in the animation end event, we're just changing the code in the room start and in the event and animation end event. So in room start, this is literally the exact same code as objEnemyMelee, but it's in room start instead of create. So yeah, just go ahead and add your weapon in here into this line. I've already done so, but again, just add a comma, sprite, not DPT. Wow, I'm so incredible at typing, guys. Sprite E walk your weapon, right? I've already done that, so yeah, I can go ahead and get rid of that comma actually, and yeah. And then in the animation end event, it's again literally the exact same thing. Just go ahead and make a new line and add your weapon in here, and make sure you add update equals 1, and make sure you get all the syntax right so that you don't get an error. And yeah, so that's those two scripts. Next, we're gonna go to scrPlayerDieMelee. All right. So this is where things get a tad complicated, a tad confusing. I'm gonna take a drink of water real quick. Refreshing. Now, yeah, things get a little bit complicated here, but it's not. It's nothing to. It's nothing you can't wrap your head around once I explain it. So don't worry. So, basically down here it's saying my_id equals instance create, and then it's creating the dead body of the player, object player dead, once you get attacked by an enemy with a melee weapon. It's creating the dead body, and then if global.my_id equals sprite index equals sprite e attack club, or global my id equals sprite underscore index p attack club. So it's adding the enemy attacking animation and the player attacking animation. And then there's a very long line here. And then once it's done, like listing all of these different weapons, it's gonna play the audio sound hit for the player getting smacked or the enemy getting smacked or whatever. In this case, the player. And then it's gonna choose between one of the blunt death sprites, right? So if it's a blunt weapon, you're gonna want to go ahead and add an or statement. And then go ahead and add global dot my underscore id equals sprite underscore index equals sprite e attack your weapon, right? But I'm not gonna do that because I've already done so with my crowbar and my katana down here. I've already gone ahead and added mine, but make sure you go ahead and add yours, right? I'm not exactly sure why there's a player. I don't think I did that. Maybe I did. Maybe I'm an idiot and I added. I don't know why there's a. Oh no, there's multiple. That's strange. Yeah, there's player animations in here. Don't worry about that. You don't need to add those in here, I don't think. I guess you could just to be safe, but this is specifically for the enemies killing the player, so I'm not completely sure why those are there, but I guess you could add your player animation in here just to be safe, I guess. And then yeah, this line is specifically for blunt weapons, so make sure if it's a blunt weapon you add it up here. If it's a cut, like a slashing weapon, don't worry, don't add it up here. I'm going to show you where to add that. So down here it's handling, and there's only going to be a knife because the only weapon that the enemies can wield that's a sharp or a slashing weapon is the knife. But as you can see, I've added my katana, so I went ahead and added an or statement and added my katana. You'll want to do the same, add an or statement. And you should probably not, I guess you could just do sprite E attack katana, but you should probably go ahead and add global, which I didn't do this because I'm a dumbass. You should probably go ahead and add or global.myid.sprite equals, and then I'll just to make it look similar. I guess you don't have to. I mean, it still ended up working even though I didn't add that, but you probably should just to be safe. Make sure you add global.my_id.sprite equals, and then scrEnemyIsAttacking your weapon, right? And then, as you can see, it goes on for a little while here, and then it plays the sound cut, and then it chooses the cut death animation because, yeah, you're getting cut by the enemy, and that's the animation that plays for when you get cut and you die. So, and then here there's these different boss death animations for when you get punched in the face by a fat or a boss enemy. So there's those. There's the inspector, which I don't even think gets used. Yeah, no. Unless... Oh, no, yeah, I think the inspector is one of the cops, and they can, like, electrify you with their damn taser. But, yeah, and then there's Sprite E. And then down here, this is where it gets a little confusing. I don't... As you can see, it's all just like a bunch of blunt animations and boss animations and getting attacked by the fats and all that. So if you have a slash weapon, like as you can see, there's no knife here. I should honestly probably go ahead and take my katana out of here because again, this all looks like it's handling blunt deaths and boss deaths and fat deaths. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take mine out of here, and make sure you add global.myid. But if you have a blunt animation, you might want to go ahead and add it. So like, I don't know, or global.my_id equals sprite_index. scrEnemyIsAttacking, and let's just say there was a damn 2x4, I don't know how you would even fucking name that, but scrEnemyIsAttacking 2x4 or some shit, right? And then it goes on to the other or statement, and then the rest of the weapons, but I don't actually have anything like that, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. Alright, so yeah, if you have a blunt weapon, make sure you add it down here and up here. If you have a weapon, a slashing weapon, just add it right here into this line. You don't need to add it anywhere else. So yeah, and again, make sure you add if global.myid. I don't think you have to, because again, I did it, and I just did sprite_index, and it ended up working just fine. But just to be safe, make sure you add global.myid. It's just good practice and good scripting etiquette, and it makes it all look nice and clean and similar like it should. So yeah, that's that script. That went on for a while. I do apologize. I really should start making a script for these, but anyways, let's move on. I don't want to waste any more of your time. Damage player melee. So this doesn't have an SCR in front of it like most of them do. You're just going to want to look up damage_player_melee. And this is handling the player getting damaged or killed by melee. So again, right here, you're going to want to, it's actually commented here for you for your convenience. Blunt deaths, so this is pretty self-explanatory. If you have a blunt weapon, make sure you add or global.my_id.sprite_index equals sprite e attack your blunt weapon, right? But I don't have another blunt weapon to add, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Or if you have, right here, you have slash deaths as well, go ahead and add a new line and make an or statement, or sprite_index equals sprite. Well, I'm just gonna equals sprite e attack slash weapon. And as you can see, I did it down here with the katana. And again, make sure you add global.myid. just like it's done up here. Again, I didn't do that, and it still works just fine, but just to be safe, make sure you add it. global.my_id dot sprite_index equals your weapon. So yeah, just make sure you go ahead and do that. And then, yeah, you have punch to death. So if you get attacked, if you have an enemy that like punches the player in the face, that also gets handled here. Play sound if killed by an aluminum bat. I don't think this ever got like called, so you can just go ahead and ignore this. There is no aluminum bat in the game. There's only the regular bat, which is added up here. I guess they meant to, they originally intended for there to be an aluminum bat, but there is no aluminum bat in the game, so just ignore that. Next we have scrPlayerDieMelee 2, and the reason I added maybe here is because I don't know scrPlayerDieMelee 2. I don't know if this script even exists for you. This is like I've kind of highly modified this a little bit because I'm making my own mod for Hotline Miami, and I ended up like I was trying to test something and it didn't end up working, but I was trying to test something from Midnight Animal, because if you don't know, Spencer Yan basically recently released the Midnight Animal source code on his Twitter. And I went ahead and downloaded that, and I was like playing around with stuff, and I have a bunch of scripts in here that are copied from Midnight Animal, because I was like just testing a bunch of shit. And so I don't even know if you'll have this. If you do a resource search and nothing shows up, you can just skip this part. But if you do a resource search and something does come up, it's basically just the exact same thing. Add your line if it's a blunt weapon, or global.my_id dot sprite_index equals scrEnemyIsAttacking your weapon, your blunt weapon. But I don't have another blunt weapon to add, so I'm going to go and delete this. If it's a /death, do the exact same thing. Here I'm going to add the global.myid dot sprite_index. Because again, you should, I guess you don't have to, but you should, just to be safe. So yeah. And finally, the final script to get this all working, and then I'll show you how to add them to add your enemies to levels, is scrEnemyIsAttacking. scrEnemyIsAttacking. So, and this is just a very simple script. If sprite_index equals scrEnemyAttack your weapon, return true. And this is just handling, I mean, it's literally exactly what it sounds like. It's just checking if the enemy is attacking the player. And then it tells the game to play the attack animation. So go ahead and add your weapon into the cluster. If sprite_index equals scrEnemyAttack your weapon, return true. Right. Okay. Now that we've done that, and that our weapon is in the game, and the enemies can wield it and pick it up and everything, and it's working just fine, how do we add it to a level, or to a room, so that we can mess around with it? I will show you how to do that right now. So, open Rooms, and go into Playable Levels, and you can choose whichever one you want. Like, you could choose the Metro. Here's the train station entrance, and as you can see, I've added a specific weapon, and there's some melee enemies here. You can go to the second level. You can even go into the fucking alley if you wanted to, I guess. There's No Talk, which, as you can see, I've added some enemies here. There's Overdose. My favorite is Decadence, though honestly you might not want to use Decadence because there's a boss, or like quote-unquote boss battle here with this fat dude. So yeah, but I just really like using Decadence because it's my favorite level in Hotline Miami, and as you can see, I've added some weapons here to just fuck around with. But you might not want to use Decadence depending on, you know, depending on your situation. So I guess we'll just go ahead and use the Metro. So go ahead and open the room file, and you'll want to go ahead and go to objects, and then click right here, object to add with left mouse, and click this little script looking thing, and go to enemy, and go to objEnemyMelee or objEnemyMeleeStationary. This regular object enemy or object enemy patrol or object enemy, these are for enemies with guns, and these are for enemies with melee weapons. So how do you add a, as you can see I've already added some, but basically what you'll do is just click on them, and then you can add them to the level. That was an enemy with a gun. You won't want to do that. You'll want to add a melee enemy, and then just click and they'll get added. So I'll go ahead and delete that because I've already added some, but that's how you click and add them into the level. And to make them wield a specific weapon, you want to go into the creation code, and as you can see I've added sprite_index equals sprite e walk crowbar, and I'm actually going to change this to katana, for instance, right? So for you, when you go in here, there will be no creation code, it'll just be empty, and you'll want to go ahead and add sprite_index equals sprite e walk whatever, right? Sprite e walk your weapon. And for me, I'll change these guys to wield katanas. And then once you go in and play the level, it should work. It should run like clockwork. It should run completely fine. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this out so you don't have to sit here and watch the game compile, because it is going to take like a good 10 minutes. Or not 10 minutes, but it should take like a good 5 or so minutes to compile. And y'all probably don't want to sit through that, so I'll go ahead and edit it out real quick, and I will come back whenever the game is compiled. So we'll go ahead and start up the Metro here. I hope you guys can still hear me and that it's not, the game isn't super loud. If I go in here, as you can see, the enemies are walking around with katanas, and they do work. And if you're wondering why my player character here and like the enemies are changing colors and like different animations and sprites, it's because I haven't finished importing all the animations for my mod yet, so they are kind of like switching back and forth to the unfinished animations right now, or the animations that I haven't imported and haven't changed yet. But yeah, for you that shouldn't happen, or maybe it will depending on how early you are into your mod's creation. But as you can see, I can punch them in the face and knock them over, and once they get up, they'll pick up the weapon and come and attack me just fine. They can even kill me with it if I let them. Oh. Wait, did I fuck something up? The reason at all. I fucked up. Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier. Make sure you do not make any syntax errors, otherwise the game will crash completely and you might be confused. I just put .sprite. I should have added .sprite_index. I completely forgot to add sprite_index because I'm a dumb shit and I didn't put global.myid. And yeah, I had to add that, and it got fucked up because I tried to type it really fast probably and fucked up. Anyways, it should work now. That is absolutely goofy of me. I do apologize for that. Yeah, make sure that you, it wasn't because of that line down there. It wasn't because I deleted it from that line. It was because I made a massive syntax error. So make sure you don't do the same thing that I did. And now, you should be able to kill me just fine. Yeah, there we go. And it does work. As you can see, it even plays the slashed animation, and yeah, I do indeed die. And they can indeed pick up the weapons and come after me and murder me. Bleh. And I'm, yeah. It works like clockwork. And I can even pick them up too. And you should be able to pick your weapon up as well if you added it. And I even, yeah, works just fine. He's a little stuck there because he can't go above the stairs, and I threw the weapon into the stairs. But yeah, I think that's enough demonstration. as you can see, everything works just fine. And if I added a search animation and I ran away here, they would even come after me and play the search animation. And then if I run down here, well, shit. Hold on, let me try and... With the bat guy, it'll play. Come after me, dude. Shit, hold on. I gotta try and lose this guy. Fuck. I can't, it's too small and I can't lose him, but if I were able to lose him, he would play his search animation. And if you added a search animation for your weapon and they chased you down and lost you, they would also play their search animation as well. So, yeah. But, yeah, it does work. And, there should even, like, it should even be possible for enemies to just randomly spawn with your weapon as well. So, like, some enemies that have random weapon spawns, they should be able to spawn with your new weapon as well. As you can see here, I kind of got unlucky and none of them did. But if I die and respawn... Okay, and if I die again... Well, one of them did spawn with a crowbar. I did see that, but now it's kind of... They're not getting any new weapons, but trust me, it works, it does work. And then if you attack this guy with your new weapon, you probably won't be able to kill him. That's because there's a script specifically for this guy, where you have to add the weapon to make it be able to, like, make your weapon be able to kill this guy. So yeah, but that's not really a huge deal unless, again, you're planning on making a Redux mod. In which case you would just go and find, I think that guy's name is like Script Inspector or Script Briefcase Guy or whatever the fuck, you'll find it. And then just add your weapon to the list of weapons that can kill him. And yeah. Alright. That is the end of this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I hope it was informative, and I hope you got done whatever you wanted to get done, which in this case would be giving a melee weapon to an enemy. So yeah, hope you managed to do that just fine. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or even requests, go ahead and add them into the comments below, and I will consider all of them and respond. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.